more than human.
Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is J.R. Carroll. I am the author of the More Than Human novels, and today we are going to talk about the difference between writers and storytellers. I don't know if you've ever heard somebody say, that author is a writer, or that author is a master storyteller. Well, here I'm going to explain what they probably mean when they say that. Now, let's start off with writers. What are writers focusing on here? If an author is more of a writer than a storyteller, they're going to focus on crafting beautiful prose. They are going to, have a way with language, and they're going to develop their own style. Authors that are like this, you can just sit down a page and not tell anybody or not have them tell you who it is, what book it is. You could read it and instantly know who that author is because they have developed a certain style. Whereas a storyteller will look more for a narrative structure. That will be their main focus, or their main strength. Character development is super important to someone who considers themselves a storyteller, and they really work everything towards into the plot itself. Second, the second bulletin here is, if we're looking at a writer really hones in on the craft of writing. It's a technique thing, and they really take it as that they're always, and all authors are doing this, but it just seems to be more of a process for writers, and they really look at sentence structure. They're really trying to, and you'll also see this where if they're really trying to push the pace or go into an action thing or really kind of get your heart rate going, they start chopping these sentences down and making shorter and shorter sentences, so it hits harder and faster. They're masters at weaving sentences and paragraphs together, whereas a storyteller really, their whole thing is, okay, I want you as the reader to be thinking about the narrative, what's going on, what are the plot developments. That's what they're trying to get the reader to always be thinking about. How is this developing? How's the world developing? It's almost as though you're pushing them into the future of your story, whereas a writer kind of brings you, keeps you in the present and just makes everything, all the words and prose, beautiful around. Then what you will have, as my third point, is as a writer, you're always refining. You will find these people, they're like sculptors. They'll throw a lot together, and then when they're writing their story, they come back and they start chopping and chiseling out until they make this beautiful thing just perfectly the way they want. Maybe they're, a lot of times, maybe they're overwriters. You've heard of overwriters, underwriters. Well, you will get that a lot with writers. They'll be overwriters, and then they refine it down into this perfect thing that they've wanted. Whereas a storyteller is more of an outliner. They're big idea people. They're big idea people. So they have all these outlines, and their main focus is plot twists. They, maybe they don't have the ability, or they're not focusing on that, but what they focus on is plot twists and motivations of characters, making you really question the motivation of characters. And our next point is, for a writer, they may want to engage again. They're trying to engage you in beautiful word choice, beautiful language, but then also they may be authors that you see that write scenery, and they write great vivid imagery and great detail into their stories. They may, a lot of times, people who would say that their writing is their strength are these people who write huge books, because they are able to just weave details about every single little thing in, because they just have that writing ability to just be able to detail out anything. Whereas a storyteller is, again, focused on those plots, compelling characters, relatable characters. If, to me, if I'm reading a book and I'm just relating so much to characters, that to me is a hallmark of a great storyteller. They want you to relate. They want you to, be able to know the motives of all these people, so you get attached to the characters and the wonder and the world itself. Great storytellers, they're also great world builders, because again, a lot of times what a storyteller is, they're always thinking ahead and making you also think ahead about, oh, what's coming up, oh, what's happening, why is this person doing this, what are they going to do. That is a great storyteller. Now, I'll give a few examples. For me, now this, everything is subjective, right? But for me, a great writer, I would say, is R.F. Kuang. Now, I've read the first book in the Poppy Wars, and I'm into the second book. But to me, the story that she has put forth in there, it's not anything super crazy, imaginative, but her writing just compelled me to keep on reading this book. She just pushed, me through the book with her, her beautiful writing, her word choices and everything. And I even was thinking about it as I was going through. I'm like, she's a really good writer. And then you have the opposite spectrum, which is, master storytellers such as Brandon Sanderson is the big one. Now, I think Brandon Sanderson definitely, and here is the big thing. There is so much overlap. There are storytellers that are great writers that can tell, that can delve into great stories, but Brandon Sanderson, he has the ability to write anything, I believe. But he has even said this. He chooses to not play up the prose because he wants people focusing on the story. The playing, stained glass window. His is clear. He wants you to see right through that and see the story and see the world. I would, and in the middle, someone who's in the middle, I would say is a Stephen King. A lot of people, for when I first got on BookTube, I would hear them make fun of his writing, like, oh, he's not a good writer. But then you read The Dark Tower, and you're like, he has amazing writing skills, amazing prose, but he also is a master storyteller. In a lot of his other works outside of The Dark Tower, he really tries to just be, they used to call it blue collar writing. Very easy for most people to read, but the stories and the characters are so engaging, and the plot and the twists. He's always known as a master of twists. But let me know if was this helpful. Do you agree with my overall thoughts on storytellers versus writers? Let me know who you think in the comments is a storyteller and who do you think is a writer, in the comments. But moreover, be more than human.